the Shiva worshippers there that the moon, and when we get this quoted, what this says, that the moon, now this is where we all going, right here. This is very significant. Hold on 1 minute. It says that the moon is the awakener of consciousness, based on consciousness. Now, there was phases of the moon, there was phases of us coming into consciousness. You see, there was phases of us coming into consciousness. The moon is the awakener of consciousness. Now, because of Khonshu eclipse, with this eclipse brought in, is the time of the waking of consciousness. A lot of dead people are getting ready to, is getting ready to wake up. The phases of the moon never stop, just as melanin is phases. Melanin never stops. It's also, it emulates the phases of the moon. Or, because we were the gods and we would always existed, the moon emulates the phases of melanin. The phases of melanin. You see what I'm saying? Now, okay, so we're connected to the moon, and and Khonshu is called the placenta, the king's placenta. Now let me break this down. You all right? Let me break this down. And then we can, if you don't understand, we go into a question and answer. But I want to give you this. We going home with this thing now. Okay. Now Khonshu, as well as Krishna, so-called had a brother that never. Now check this out. Khonshu had a brother that never made it into this world. Some forms of Krishna had a brother named Balarama that was born and never made it in this world. So they're called, one is the dark twin and one is the light twin. Now, one is the light twin. Now, either never made it into the other world. Now, let me explain something. What Henry Frankfurt, one of the noted Egyptologists, said. Another aspect of Khonshu, noted by Henry Frankfurt, who translate his name as the placenta of the king. So, Khonshu is the placenta of the king. They're going to explain what that is in a few minutes. As the placenta, Khonshu is the twin and is the king that dies at birth. As the placenta, he is the king's Ka. Ka, which is the dark substance, melanin. That's also your guardian angel we talked about. His power, a vital force. So the king, so melanin is our placenta. It's the placenta that stayed behind as melanin on the inside of us. It is our Ka. It is our Ka. Ka is the power of vital force. The king is said to have the 14 Ka. To have the 14 Ka, as Frankfurt writes. Now, so here goes again. Because now Khonshu now is called the placenta of the king, the man, the woman is saying that is his Ka, and Ka is called the shadow. Ka'abit is what it's called. And Kabdit, Ka'abit, or Kadith, or later on Hadith in Muslim, they got it as a sacred teaching now, but it comes from the Ka, and it's talking about melanin is what it is talking about. So placenta is the king's Ka. So Khonshu is also Cupid. Now Cupid is Eros. What is Eros? Eros, in the beginning, you had two gods. This is in what you call Phoenician mythology. Later on, they call it Greek mythology. You had two things that appeared in the universe. The first thing that appeared in the universe was Gaia and Eros. Gaia we now know as the earth. So the earth is the beginning of the damn universe. That's exactly what the Dogons say. They say in the beginning there's Potolo, and Potolo is the earth. So in Phoenician mythology, they said Gaia was before the universe formed. Gaia and Eros. Eros later on is Cupid. So Khonshu is a form of Eros, which is the power behind sex and the power and driving force behind energy itself. That's why during the moon time people get horny. You see what I'm saying? So I'll get horny and stuff. So in this particular part, here go again. We're talking about some ancient stuff that's now come back to the planet. And so I first tapped into Khonshu and I was dealing with Khonshu. And Khonshu is the guy, is the priest in Egypt that his stela, his stone tablet, his funerary tablet is what they translated the book of law from, because the angel Awas came after they read the magical incantations from the stela or the stone tablet of Khonshu and invoked Awas, thus gives you the book of the law. They translated it in the final translation in 1969, and because of Khonshu was a moon god, they said, let's fake this lunar landing and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that's wrapped up behind that. So the brother Andrew Brown was telling me about Michael Berdio, who wrote the Vodun Gnostic workbook, and in there, Michael Berdio was explaining to him that there was several phases of the moon connected to the goddesses. In Hindu, Durga, and in Yoruba, Yemenya is the new moon. In Hindu, Parvati, and in Yoruba, Oshun is the first moon. No, is the first moon. And the first quarter. And in Hindu, Sarasvati, and in Yoruba, Oya is the full moon. And in Hindu, Lakshmi and Oshun again is the last quarter. So he was breaking that particular thing down. And he also talked about in the Vodun Gnostic workbook, there was a god called the goddess of the first day. Got this long name in the Vodun Gnostic workbook, but it's a moon goddess that comes out of Voodoo. Yeah. And it's mentioned in the Vodun Gnostic workbook on page 119. He's a cat moon goddess. It's a cat moon goddess that's connected to the goddess Bass. Now, this is the final part that I'm going to deal with, and we're going to go into question and answer. We're going to go into question and answer. You ready?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Okay, let me go into question and answer, but I want to give you this final part, and then we can start discussing this stuff on what's going on. So what is going on with this particular Khonshu new moon eclipse? Even the earth was in retrograde at the time. You see, during the solstice and all of that. What happened with this particular doorway? So let's go into some couple of things on what this is talking about here. What this is talking about.
All right.
In the Kabbalah, Yased, which is a spear, Yased, which is a spear, is the foundation, which corresponds to the moon. Therefore, it is astrologically the doctrines, and it affects Saturn. Saturn equals 3, transmitted through the moon, which is 9. And the power of Saturn is squared. Now, this is what it says. In the New Age, at some point, Jupiter, which is the arrow, which is Oshosi, this is all coming up at the same time, which is Sagittarius. Jupiter, at some point, Jupiter and Saturn will merge, combining a mildness of Jupiter and a severity of Saturn. This gave away to what is now, this will give away to what is called a new golden age. So this is what's happening. This eclipse with the moon help align Saturn and Jupiter together. Saturn is Baron Samedi, a form of Osiris. Jupiter is Oshosi, is Apollo, and the god Rama. So Saturn and Jupiter, they say when they will combine, and the mildness of Saturn and the severity of Jupiter, this will cause a golden age. But they say that Saturn is conjuncted or combined through the moon. In this particular case, what this thing has done, it has set off a new golden age. It has set up a new golden age. Now, in the book, Celestial Ship of the North, her name is, what's the woman's name? Celestial Ship of the North. Her name is Straighten. Her last name is Straighten. It'll come to me. Celestial Ship of the North. This woman's book that was written somewhere in the 1940s. In her book, she said that Saturn, which is called the black planet, has something to do with the black race or the Negro races. This is what she said writing in the 1940s. She says that Saturn having something to do with the black race has to be aligned. And when it aligns, it will change the conditions of the Negro race. This is what she's saying. She's using the word Negro or what have you. It's the 1940s or the 1930s. I think it's the 1940s. She says, but there has to be a bridging period through Saturn. Now, it's interesting here because Jupiter has to join with Saturn, but we mentioned in the first part of the show that Jupiter is connected to Rama, and Rama is connected to his chief Hanuman, and Hanuman is the Monkey King who has Hanuman on his side, never loses, and the Monkey King, along with his other monkeys, these particular, build a bridge to the kingdom of this demon to save Lakshmi or Sita. Now, the demon has to be a form of Saturn. The demon is always associated with black. Saturn is also the black planet. The demon is the severity form of chastisement. It's what whips you into shape. Saturn is what that is. The book, The New Look at the Old Devil. Saturn, The New Look at the Old Devil, an astrological book, and they deal with that whole thing. It's called Saturn, A New Look at the Old Devil. Was put out by Samuel Weiser. They used to be in print in the 90s. Now, here goes again. This bridge that happened. Now, it's interesting here because Hanuman is also connected to Tahuti. Tahuti is connected to Khonshu. So Hanuman is the Monkey King, but also connected to the moon. So the moon bridges both Saturn to Jupiter, but both Saturn and Jupiter has to align to give a new condition to black people. Now, this condition first starts with the consciousness of black people. You see, with the consciousness of black people. And that's what's happening. You see what I'm saying? So what's the first aspect of this now? When a person conscious change, their world around them start to change. It starts moving the world around them. It moves the atmosphere. It moves the weather. So the more people is going, and because of this particular conjunction of what went down with the eclipse, and Khonshu being the night traveler, melanin, you see, and this bridger, this thing all comes together as a new condition, what to look forward to, but it first starts with the consciousness. So with that in mind, we can go to a question and answer. Yes. Now remember, people, you want to get that stimulus package so the angels can work through to this realm to give you prosperity. You want to get the purple disc. You want to get the picture package, which we got a picture of Khonshu up in there. You see what I'm saying? Of Khonshu up in there, we got a picture. Yeah. He's called Khonshu the chronographer. And the chronographer is talking about chronology, but chronographer is not only, it's also talking about time. You see, so all of this stuff comes together. So let's go into a question and answer.
All right. We're going to get right to that. Okay. All right, we're going to get ready to take some question and answers here with Brother Bobby Hemmit. The number to call is 646-652-2711, and press 1 when you get on the phone line if you have a question for Brother Bobby Hemmit.